what's the saying? Yeah. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I'm so sorry that this video is taking so long to come out. We're going to do a video on the Help to Buy scheme and the pros and cons of it. I did a poll on my Instagram and this video was the one that you guys wanted to see next. So I'm filming it now. I have filmed it before, which is annoying, but I'm filming it again. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it and it's informative. Just so you all know, I actually didn't use the Help to Buy scheme. That is something I did mention in my first video. So everything that I'm saying to you is my own opinion. I am not giving you mortgage advice. So please see a mortgage advisor if you want to know more, or visit helptobuy.gov.co.uk, which is what I use to get most of the information that I'm going to tell you right now. And I hope the video is informative for you. So we're going to start off with some background as to when the Help to Buy scheme started, so on and so forth. So Help to Buy scheme started in 2013 and it's a government scheme that enables people, I won't just say first time buyers because it's not just first time buyers. If you are currently a homeowner and you are going to sell your house and the new house you're going to will be your sole residence, then you can also use the Help to Buy scheme. So it enables people in general to get onto the property ladder. So the Help to Buy scheme that is applicable in England allows the government to lend you up to 20% of the cost of your newly built home, which means that you need a 5% cash deposit and a mortgage of 75%. And that can be with any lender that participates in the Help to Buy equity loan scheme. The government have also introduced the London Help to Buy, which allows them to lend you up to 40% of the cost of your newly built home, still requiring you to have a 5% deposit, but now you only need a 55% mortgage from the bank. So the cost of your newly built home can be up to 600k if you are living in England. For those of you living in Scotland, though I doubt you'll be watching this video, but I'll say it anyway, the maximum value of your home can only be 200k, and then if you're in Wales it's 300k. Okay, so that's all the background information that I'm going to say anyway. I'm sure there's more that you could research, but that's it for now from me, and we'll get into the pros and cons. Pro number one is kind of obvious. You'll get onto property ladder much quicker because you only need a 5% deposit rather than a 10, 15, 20% deposit. The fact that you need that lower amount, you'll be saving for less time, so you'll be in your home faster. Number two is for those of you who can't imagine living anywhere but London, and I know there's a lot of people who feel that way. So now that there's the London Help to Buy and the government can lend you up to 40% of the property value, those London house prices that are ridiculously expensive are now more affordable or attainable, I should say. Yeah, so you'll be well on your way to owning a home in London, and that's impressive. Pro number three. You'll get access to better interest rates, and that's because your LTV is lower than somebody who did a 90% mortgage like me. So for those of you who don't know, LTV means loan to value. So it's the amount of debt you're taking out, the loan, in comparison to the value of the home that you're purchasing. So if you're buying a house that is 250k and you had a 10% deposit, which is 25k, then you've got a 90% LTV, a 90% loan to value. The bank has lent you 90% of the value of your home. And the lower your LTV is, the more competitive the rates the bank give you. Pro number four is probably the most impressive one out of the bunch, I would say. It is interest free for 5 years. Now there is a management fee of £1 a month. Well, what's £1? You can't even buy £1 chicken and chips anymore. Sad. Pro number five, it is not means tested. And by means tested, I mean that it doesn't require you to earn less than 80k or you have to have lived in council housing. There's no requirements like that. So the fact that you don't have to worry about earning a certain amount or living in a certain area in order to be eligible is a benefit to me. And I think a lot of people will see that as a plus, hopefully. Those are all my pros. Now we'll move on to the cons, which is probably the most interesting part of the video, to be honest. So the first con number 1. After year 5, so in year 6, you start paying interest of 1.75% plus RPI plus 1%. That's a long equation, right? Yeah, so it rises by RPI plus 1% every year. RPI is retail price index, which is inflation that includes houses. Yeah. So your interest isn't fixed, it changes or fluctuates with RPI, inflation, plus an additional 1% on top of that inflation. So you're a bit uncertain as to how much you're going to be paying the government, and it really depends on what's happening with the economy, really. Then you also have to pay your management fee of £1, but £1 per month over 25 years is £300. So not too bad, but yeah, that on top of the interest that you're paying. Con number 2, you're limited to a 25-year mortgage. Now, some of you watching may think, oh, aren't all mortgages 25 years? No, you can get them longer. You can get them 30 years, 35 years. I think some people even do it 40 years. I think Santander allow you to do up to 40 years. But yeah, but increasing the term of your mortgage is a way of getting your monthly payments down, because obviously you're spreading out the debt over a longer period of time, but that's not allowed in the Help to Buy scheme. You can only do 25 years. It's not a big deal, but for those of you who did want to keep your payments as low as possible, it could be a thinking point or something to consider, basically. Con number 3, and this is the con that completely puts me off this whole scheme personally. So the equity loan is percentage based, which basically means that just because they've lent you 50k doesn't mean that at the end of the term of your loan, when you have to repay them back, you're paying them back 50k plus maybe 3k or 5k in interest. That's not how it works. You're giving them back 20% of the market value of your home. So what they'll do is they'll do a valuation, check how much your home is worth, and part of that equity that you would have hoped you would receive back actually goes to them. So they get 20% of the market value if you were to take a 20% loan from them. So I should probably explain why that's a turn off for me. I want to reap as much returns as I can from this investment property, and I won't be able to do that if the government are taking 20% of the market value and not just the loan that they gave me. I just think it's a bit cheeky, to be honest with you. I really do. Con number 4. There are a limited amount of lenders who actually participate in the Help to Buy scheme. So essentially by using it, you're limiting your options in terms of those people that can lend to you or those banks that can lend to you, and the other options may actually offer you a higher income multiplier, so they may actually lend you 4.5 times your salary rather than 4 times your salary, that kind of thing basically, and that would be a negative. You may be losing out by using the scheme. 5, there's this thing called staircasing. And basically, if you wanted to make a repayment back to the government, you can only repay a minimum of 10% of your property's value. So it's like you want to give them money back, you want to partially repay, but they're telling you, no, if you want to give me money back, you can only give me this much money back. I don't think that's fair. That's not nice. Just take the money that I'm giving you. And to do that, you have to pay admin fees to Homes of England, and you also have to pay for a valuation to be done. Extra costs on top of the money that you're giving them back. Like, I just want to give you back money, take it. So we have more cons than we do pros. Walks. But yeah, con number 6, you can't purchase a second home. So this scheme is designed for people who want to use the property as their sole residence. So if you intend to buy a second home, you'll have to repay the government all their money. So if they lent you 20% of 250k, which is 50k, then you'll have to pay them their 50k back plus the remaining interest, so on and so forth. So I imagine that that 50k is probably the deposit that you wanted to use for your second home. So basically you have to give it all to them, and then there's no second home. Con number 7, married couples own joint assets. So that means that if you're currently dating someone and they've used the Help to Buy scheme, or they just own a property, when it comes to marriage, you cannot, even in your own name, go and use the Help to Buy scheme to buy a property because they already have a property. You would have to sell their property in order to use the Help to Buy scheme together. I'm not quite sure. You would have to ask a mortgage advisor if you both had separate Help to Buy properties and then you came together to buy a property, whether you would both have to sell your assets. I'm not quite sure. Please ask a mortgage advisor, but that's my understanding of it. Con number 8. If you want to extend your property or do any large home improvements, you have to ask their permission. So you would have to write into Homes England and tell them that this is what you intend to do. Now, in the guide, it clearly states that it's very likely that this request will be rejected because they feel as though if you have money to do home improvements or do extensions, then you have money to pay them back. So first and foremost, pay them back. Above everything, they want you to give them back their money before you do anything. Number 9, there's no subletting allowed. So this kind of confused me because subletting is usually a term that's used for renting, but it clearly states subletting in the guide, so that threw me off slightly. I believe what they mean is in terms of having a lodger or renting out a room that is not allowed with the Help to Buy scheme. Under a normal residential mortgage, you're allowed under certain circumstances to have a lodger. So let's say that you lived in a mansion that had 10 bedrooms. As long as you occupy 4 of those bedrooms, which is 40% of the property, then it's still a residential mortgage. So you could rent out the other 6 rooms and still be within the law or within your contract. In this case, I don't think that's allowed, but please do check with a mortgage advisor and even let me know in the comments. But when they say no subletting, I'm assuming that's what they mean. And finally, my last con. If you wanted to release equity from your house, you would have to ask for their permission, and the guide clearly states that this is unlikely to be granted in cases where you're not releasing equity to basically repay them back. They want their money back under any circumstance. So usually people release equity to do home improvements, go on holiday, things like that. In this case, it's very unlikely that they will grant or approve your equity release request unless it's for cases where you want to use that equity to repay them back. So those are my pros and cons of the Help to Buy scheme. Once again, if you visit helptobuy.gov.uk, you can read the Help to Buy guide that I went through to pick out some of these points. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I will try and answer them as soon as possible. Like, if I'm a bit late, I apologise, but I will get to it. So that's the end of the video. I hope that you guys subscribe for more mortgage related videos, as well as spoken word, as well as some career stuff that I plan to do in the future as well. So I'll see you in my next one.